Hi, this is Reg Athwal and welcome to our channel and another one of our episodes today on Next Gen Entrepreneurs, where I get a chance to interview a serial entrepreneur who's built an unbelievable business from a very young age. And we're going to find out a little bit about how he actually did that. So let me give you a formal introduction on our guest today, okay? He is Firas Al Msaddi. He's the Chief Executive Officer of FAM Properties, one of the largest and most successful real estate firms in the United Arab Emirates. He's also the executive chairman of FAM Group, and at the age of 25, he founded the agency in 2009 amidst the global economic crisis. Most people would not even consider starting a business at that time, but he did. Today, FAM Properties employs over 200 people with multiple branches, not only in the UAE, but doing business across the world. It manages now over $500 million of investment portfolio, not only in Dubai, but also internationally. And also on a yearly basis, the business has been expanding with new business units, new entities. You can see on the screen here with the portfolio that Firas manages personally. He's also then expanded with FAM Real Estate Development Advisory, FAM Interior Design, FAM Media 24/7, FAM Living, and a bunch of other brands, which we're going to ask him questions about. He's still in his 30s. He's a young man, not old like me, and he really credits his vision to his parents and his wife. So on that note, welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us. Really appreciate you taking time out for us and telling us about your journey today. So welcome.
Really, thank you very much for having me on the show, Reg.
Yeah, I mean, you're a serial entrepreneur. You've obviously got, big following. I know that on LinkedIn alone, you're one of the few people that I know that is almost at 100,000 personal followers, which is incredible. You've got your own YouTube channel. You've got all these different businesses. I want to know where it all started. When you talk about parents, and your wife, let's go back to the roots. You grew up in Syria, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so tell me, how did your parents influence you as a young man and injecting the right things that has enabled you to become a great entrepreneur? What sort of things do you think they gave you as a young man?
I think I picked different things from my dad and some other things from my mom. Like for example, from my mom, she always pushed me for being the best. I think my competitive spirit is definitely something that I picked from my mom. Mm-hmm. And from my dad, I would say more wisdom, calmness, and more on how I approach different situations peacefully. Right. My dad is a very peaceful man. So
yeah. You got the balance there. You got sort of the peace, but one parent pushing you, okay? Because in a way that has to happen, doesn't it? Otherwise, how do you develop that determination or desire to go and make things happen in your life?
Definitely. My mom always pushed me. I mean, I remember one of the things my mom used to tell me when I traveled to Dubai. She's like, listen, either come back in the fridge or come back successful.
That's a great quote. You know what? That should be the title of your next book. Okay, yeah. I think that would be a bestseller for sure. Yeah. Okay, so we credit your mum for that. Now you grew up obviously with your elder sister, and you got a younger brother as well. Yeah. Yeah. So and you've really become the first generation entrepreneur in your family. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, my dad is an engineer, but he's also an entrepreneur. My grandfather is an entrepreneur as well. So. I think that side is also in the blood of the family. But when I came to Dubai, I started everything from scratch.
So tell me about the story about shoes. When you started off when you were younger, I understand that you were selling shoes or something. Is that right?
Yeah. So we had a small shop in one of the markets in Homs. Me and my brother went to the shop. I think I went there at the age of 12 or 13, and I was selling shoes to people. And then I think that was the start of the serious, sale, like real business venture for me. And then, from there, I never stopped. But even prior to selling shoes, I was always selling fireworks or books or, something on the road in my neighborhood or my school to my friends. So it's been always in my blood.
At what stage do you think you knew, okay, inside you knew that I am going to be super successful, and I know it because I think in one of your videos you mentioned that you were dreaming and you could almost touch the future. That was one of your quotes. Okay. So at what age did that start?
First of all, I think this is the situation almost with every successful man, at least, or every successful person, whether man or woman, at least from, my experience and my interaction with other successful people. I think because you need to obsess over what you do and obsess over what you're thinking about during the day, and naturally you would probably dream about it or you visualize it during the day. At what age? I think when I was probably, I don't know, maybe 16, 17. I remember I came back home and that was like a tipping point when I watched 10 minutes of a life coach called Dr. Salah Saleh Rashid that my mom and my brother were watching. And that was the tipping point of my lifetime, to change and to start thinking, well, hold on, I have resources.
Yes.
I need to channel it. I need to start having goals and I need to plan. And that was the tipping point of everything.
And you were how old at that time?
Honestly, I can't remember. Maybe 16.
Yeah.
16.
Maybe. So your personal development journey started at a very young age.
Yeah.
Instilled those right things into your mind. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a good tip for anyone who's watching this. Parents, family members. You've got young kids, and you're thinking, how do I groom the next generation to become great entrepreneurs? Or maybe this is the first tip Firas has given us, which is to make sure that they read, get some coaching, read some good things. Tell me, after this, eventually, kind of long story short, you ended up in Dubai, okay? And I believe that one of your first jobs was working at a mall as a security guy.
I was accepted for an interview to be a security guard in one of the malls in the GCC. But then I took one more interview and I ended up here in Dubai with one of the retail companies. So my first job here was doing some merchandising / sales in a fashion shop.
Right. And eventually that led to you becoming a super salesperson. And I understand that your first gift in one of the retail brands was you got a nice expensive watch for being the top salesman. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. On my first year. I mean, I remember the minute I arrived to Dubai, I was doing double shifts all the time. So when you do double shifts in those retail shops, they used to give you a pending day. So if you do a double shift, they'll give you a pending day so you can take the off later on. But I've never taken off. Like literally, I've never taken a day off. Like even on a Friday, I was actually going to the shop. So I remember my manager told me, listen, you can't take more pending days. You need to utilize the pending days that you've built. But if you do the double shift, you do the double shift on your own. And for me, what was in it for me is the learning.
Sorry to interrupt. I can ask you, because I can see it in your eyes, by the way. You've got that deep look of confidence, determination. You have it today, and I'm just wondering what it was like 10 years ago. Okay, so what's behind all of that? What's your purpose? Why? What's driving all of this for you?
What's driving all of this? I think my future, the future of my family, the future of the people. It's like when you thrive and when you work very hard, that it's 1 + 1 = 2. I always believe that 1 + 1 = 2. It's not like it might happen, it might not happen. If you work hard, you're gonna get. And if you're gonna get, you're gonna become stronger and you're gonna be able to help those who depend on you or who you care for. And I think there isn't a bigger motivation than your future and the future of your family.
But how do you? There was a video I did recently where, off the back of a client who said to me, Reg, how do you ensure you got fire in the belly with the next generation? Okay, you've obviously got it. So if you think about your children in the future who will grow up, in a wealthy environment because you've worked hard for your family, what tips would you give to people on how do you create that fire in the belly? Because there's a lot of kids under the age of 25 today who lack desire. They lack motivation. They lack that determination to get up and do things. What's your opinions around those things? What tips do you have?
As you probably know, I'm a father of 4 kids. So I have 2 boys and 2 girls. I mean, they're still very young, but you know, one of the sad realities that, you know, I see around us is that sometimes you find very successful people, but their kids are really, you know, they're not successful, they're not motivated. And it's a really sad reality because, you know, naturally when you're successful, you're also influencing others and you're helping others to be successful too, but you're forgetting about your kids. I think the first thing we need to factor is that it takes time, it takes effort. It's just like any other thing. If you don't invest in it, resources, you're not gonna have, you know, you're most probably not gonna have, you know, a very successful kids. So I think you need to put time in it. Yes, you need to work hard, you need to obsess over what you do, but you need to put time with your kids to understand your kids. And I think this is one of the biggest blessings I had during the, you know, the quarantine. I got closer to my kids more than ever before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you mentor them. You know, you see how they're behaving, and then, you know, you mentor them, and you in a context that they can relate to. So, for example, you know, before they sleep, I see perfect timing to come and to tell them stories that they can relate to, but it conveys all the you know the inspirational the inspirational aspects that I want to get across to them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And also, you know, to add a few comments with the case studies that we've got working with, you know, family businesses across Africa, Middle East, Asia, the pattern that we've seen, especially with your children at the age they are, is giving them that opportunity to become observers, you know, to follow you around, to see your office, to see the work that you do. So we've got so many of these case studies where you inject something positive into that kid's mind to go, wow, you know, I want to be part of this in the future. Rather than having a distance. So we've seen that. We've also seen, you know, where maybe the parents don't become the mentors, but maybe an uncle or auntie, or maybe an external person becomes the mentor or the coach for the kids as well. So they're constantly learning from different people. So these are some of the things that we've come across to add to what you're saying.
100%. I think long as the you know, the parents are aware that they have to invest resources, whether that resource is the uncle or the aunt or your friend or it's you, just long as you have someone who's, you know, guiding these kids and
exactly
looking after them.
The other thing I want to explore with you is, you know, what makes great family businesses. In your case, I know your brother's working with you, and I'm sure you've got support from your wife in the background, you know, supporting you as well, because normally there's always a boss behind the boss. Okay. And I'm sure you can relate to that. So, you know, what I've noticed over the years is, first of all, you will pick up things from your parents, and you will have those in your family DNA today, and you will also project them onto your kids. So what do you think some of those things are when it comes to your family values or principles that you don't compromise on? What are some of those things?
Well, I think I come from a conservative family. So I think, you know, faith is a big thing for us. And this is something that my mom has really embedded in my, you know, in my brain and in my life. And that's something I'm definitely cascading to my kids, you know. And that entails, it's not just the religion side of things, but also, you know, the ethics, the value system, and what so have you. These are the things that you really need to embed and to pass on to your kids, you know, from a very early age. You'd be surprised how much, even with my own kids, you know, at the early stage, I was like, no, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about that, because they can't relate, they can't understand. But I was really shocked when I actually started doing it. I remember my wife, she's like, they understand, just talk to them. And it was like really mind-blowing to see how much they can actually observe and understand and relate to once you talk to them.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. And they're sponges, aren't they? I remember when we went through our process of creating a family constitution, and my youngest was 80 years of age at the time. He's now 18, okay? And he's the youngest of four. And I remember getting all these cups out on the dining table and say, okay, here's mum and dad. Okay, here's four of you. Okay, one day, you know, you may all get married. So now there's 8 of you. Okay, now one of you may have one child, one may not have children, one may have 4, one may have 5. We don't know. So now look at how big the family is. And it was all, you know, we were having all these conversations, and the 8-year-old absolutely got it. He goes, oh yeah, I understand. So, you know, this person who's just got married, if they don't agree, Dad, then there's going to be problems, isn't there? Yeah. You know,
Impressive.
and so you're right, they love it. So can I ask you, you know, amassing this amount of wealth at a young age is fairly significant. You know, there's not many people at that level I can think of in UAE and other parts of the world where I've interviewed them. So what is your what is your relationship with money? Okay, when you've got a group of companies doing, you know, over $500 million a year plus assets that you manage, and you're a young man, most kids blow it. Okay, they go down the wrong path. They build it, they lose it. It happened to me. I built my first company 17 to 21, pretty much lost everything. Okay, so how have you managed to protect it, sustain it, look after it?
I think to start with, I was too busy to even think what to do with my money or to count how much I'm making. I was so focused on my business that I didn't even have time to go and to spend much of my money or even to invest much of my money. And then risk is a big thing. You know, they say if you don't take risk, you don't win or you may never be successful. And it's true in some cases because many people actually don't get even to start because they're afraid of the risk of failure. But I think I'm not a big risk taker, but I would say that throughout my life, to preserve my wealth and the fact that I kind of don't have anyone behind me to pick me up if I fall, I think I've never ever taken risk in my life that I cannot afford.
Right.
So, and I think that is something really, really important because you get tempted with so many things, and sometimes it's not only money. Sometimes when it comes to your business, venturing out to different things or overly exposing yourself. Like for example, I've never ever in my life taken a loan.
Wow.
Never, not on a car, not on a property, not on anything. I've never actually advised any of my clients to actually go and take a loan. So I'm very risk averse in that context. I think we invest to prosper and to be happier in life. We don't invest to bring worries, and I don't like that. I know you can leverage, you can make so much, but if you look at the COVID-19, for example, one of the biggest lessons many people have learned in the COVID-19 crisis is that those who were overly leveraged, they could not sustain at all. They went literally to zero or to below zero. But those who were not leveraged or who were modestly leveraged, they managed to sustain and they will manage to bounce back. So my relationship with money, if I have money, I spend, I invest. If I don't, I simply don't.
But in a way, you take risks in other ways, don't you? Maybe it's more calculated because to go from
I can afford
to having 10 other businesses, you've obviously taken risk in other areas.
Yeah. I take risk, but only risk that I can afford. So to give you an example, if I want to start a new business, for example, okay, or I have a dream I want to achieve, and obviously to start a business, you need to engage more people with you. I feel heavily responsible, not just for my money, also for the people I'm bringing on board. If I want to expand, I'm going to have to bring more people. And I feel heavily responsible for the money as well as for the people who are coming and planning all their life and their financial based on you selling them the dream. So whatever I started in my life, I started only at the point I knew that even if the worst case scenario take place, yes, it will never break my backbone financially.
Well, you've got a stronger head on your shoulders. I really respect that, and I think it's great that you've got that already. You know, from a young age, in your mid-20s to now your mid-30s. But who do you think gave you that thinking? Who influenced you to think this way?
I think the fact that I always knew that I am alone, and the fact that when I came here, I didn't know anyone in Dubai. I didn't have friends. I didn't have relatives. I didn't have anyone. I didn't know anyone. So I think that was one of my motivation. One of the things I learned is that I learned and I managed to transform all the obstacles and the fact that sometimes you feel that life is against you and it's not happening and you're the victim and I transformed all of those into like the unstoppable energy. Like, because I'm alone, I'm gonna do it. Because they're saying no, I'm gonna do it. Because they don't believe in me, I'm gonna do it. But never I'm gonna do it to prove them wrong, because that's not gonna pay me off anything. I do it only for me.
That's very deep what you've just said. Do you still feel that you're alone?
I think when you are a thriving entrepreneur, yes, you get those moments a lot. But in business, like, I mean, the fact that, you know, home is amazing. Like, honestly, whatever happens in business, I go through a lot of ups and downs and stuff. But at the end of the day, when I go to my wife and to my kids, that is peace for me. Yeah. But yeah, in business, you do feel many times that you're alone. Sometimes you come up with ideas that people cannot. It becomes challenging to get them to understand it, to get them to believe in it. You know, so yes, in many ways, you feel that you are alone, because sometimes people
maybe it's what's driving you still, you know. So it's okay. It's like a contradiction. You're not on your own, because you've got 200 other families you're feeding. You've got your wife, you know, you've got your family behind you. But then on the business side, you're on your own. But that's also keeping you going, isn't it? To make sure you protect what you've built. So I get the contradiction, and obviously it's working.
Yeah, I think in certain contexts I feel alone. And I think that's the I mean, that's the case of probably every entrepreneur, or even every successful, thriving individual, whether an employee or entrepreneur.
So let's go in a couple of other areas with the time that we have. What's it like working with your brother? Okay, and what tips would you give other family businesses when you're the first generation entrepreneur? Things are going well, then you pull in, you know, a brother or a sister or somebody else. What's been the learnings there of what's worked, and what are things that maybe haven't worked, and now you've learned from it, and you could give some tips to other people working with siblings or family members?
I think I have a very special relationship with all my family members. I think since I was a kid, I'm a very emotional person. So I think since I was a kid, I was like, always throughout my life up until now, I'll probably sacrifice everything I ever got for my family. So my family is really like this: God, and then my family, and you know, and it's a red line. So I remember, I mean, when I got my brother into the business, I didn't really, it was like more of a stepping stone until he gets a job elsewhere, because he comes from a very strong IT background.
Okay.
And the company was small back then, so I didn't need so much his expertise. But then I remember he took like a small corner in the office. He looked at the CRM we had. We used to use a third-party CRM, and it's like, Firas, I can build one. I'm like, okay, build. Yeah. And then he built the most, I would say, the most successful ERP system, you know, I've ever heard of. You know, every single, he has really helped me taking this business, you know, into the corporate level. Yeah. He drives all the tech, all the marketing. So the relationship with him, I think there has to be a lot of tolerance for sure. And many things he could be talking about that. For example, when he said, I can do it, I didn't believe in him. I didn't believe that he could do it. But then he did it, and he's been doing it for the past 7-8 years, and he's been doing amazing work. So I think there has to be a lot of tolerance. There has to be a lot of, I would say, you need to give them the benefit of the doubt.
And so what happens when you know, every family member goes through this with siblings, but what happens when you disagree? Okay, or he's got a completely different view, you've got a different view. You talk about tolerance. How have you overcome those situations? Because some family businesses, you know, if they don't have the right level of communication, those things build up over long term. And then eventually there's a volcanic eruption, you know, which is why only 3% of family businesses will last a fourth generation and build a 100-year legacy. Yeah. So could you talk us through how do you resolve some of those things when they come up?
I think by nature, we are completely different, like completely different in every way, shape, and form. He's just different, completely different character, completely different human. Even he looks completely different from me. So I think it's to do with ownership, like in the sense of when I fail, when he disagrees, I blame myself. I say I failed to get him to agree. If he gets upset from me, I blame myself. even if the whole world sees it as it's his mistake, but I blame myself because I failed in keeping him calm. I failed in keeping him happy. I failed in keeping the relationship. So I think, you know, I think this can start either a war or can start the most fruitful, long-lasting relationship with your family members.
And what about communication? Like, how frequently would both of you be communicating informally, but then also formally about the business, the plans, the future? How does that work?
His office is right next to me.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we're completely different. We're completely different in so many ways. But we're rational, I think, and that helps us a lot. So when he brings a good idea, I rationalize it, I appreciate it, and I fill his gaps the same way he fills my gaps.
That's good. I like it. Well, keep it up, you know, and a couple of other things I wanted to ask you is, I know when you started off in the retail side and then you started getting a job as a broker and you moved into this industry, I know there's a story where you were also studying a course part-time and that's how you met your wife. Okay. I believe at Dubai Knowledge Park. So,
that's right.
You know, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the life partner,
yeah.
Were you just lucky and God bless you and it just happened? Or were you also assessing, you know, is this the right partner for me based on the dreams and ambitions that you had? Because a lot of people get marriage wrong, you know, your life partner could make you or break you for the future. So I'm just curious what happened when you met your wonderful wife, and, you know, was it just happened, or were there certain things important to you before you made the decision to go, yeah, this is the person I'm definitely marrying?
You know, honestly, where I am today was never even on my dream list.
Yeah.
So I didn't choose my partner based on where I want to get, but I think the fact that she, you know, accepted me as I was. I had literally nothing. I was living in sharing accommodation. My salary was 5,000 dirhams, and she just, you know, accepted me for me the same way I accepted her for her.
Wonderful.
And I think, you know, those were difficult days, challenging days, but we still had, you know, a lot of fun. It was very precious to know that someone is with you for you, not for your money, not for because you're dreaming big, not because at the end of the day it's only a dream, right? Yeah. But I think she saw something in me, because obviously this is, like you said, it's not just emotions. You can't just eat and drink love for the rest of your life. I think she's seen something in me that she could resonate with in terms of how she sees the future. And the same way for me, I've seen something in her. I mean, she's, you know, she's educated, she's smart, she's beautiful. So there are so many things that, so many boxes that she ticked for me and I ticked for her, I think.
And were you looking for someone, or did it just happen?
No, it just happened out of the blue.
Yeah. No, the reason I ask is we get this a lot.
I love stability. I love stability. I love emotional stability. That was one of the parameters for me, you know, in life. Like, I always wanted a family. I always wanted a wife. I always wanted a stable relationship.
So I think you've given us some good insights already in so many areas. Now I really want to get into the nitty gritty of the business side. So when you started, I mean, to build such an empire, how did you raise the money? Did you get investors? Did you bring in other partners? You know, and what tips can you give other people if they're young, you know, under 25-year-old or in their 20s, looking to start their venture, but they don't have the money maybe? Like, you know, you're only on $1,000 a month with your salary at the time. So, you know, what are the tips around getting started, getting something off the ground? And with the experience you've got today, if looking back, if you were to do it all over again, would you do anything differently?
No, really no. I think from a concept principle standpoint, no. And I think I mean, I've never taken money from people to invest in my business. I think I believe it's wrong. I believe we don't need that. I believe it's very simple. If you look at any industry in the world, those who do it best always get paid the best and always have the lion's share. So I think whatever you're doing, when I was in Armani selling clothes, I was probably the only one who would go down and tie the shoelaces of my clients. Like I would do everything from the bottom of my heart, not because I think, oh, I'm an employee, this is not my business, I don't need to do this. No, because I have ownership for what I need to learn, and what I need to learn will lead me to achieve what I want to achieve. So I think when you do anything very, very well, you will definitely progress, and you will definitely be in high demand, whether as an employee or in high demand from your clients. So the formula is simple. You need to get knowledge, and you need to get on a healthy platform to practice your knowledge. And that practice will give you experience, and that experience will definitely get you to places in life. Yeah. And money is just one of the results of being successful in business. You've never seen a successful businessman who's bankrupt forever. You know, we all go through ups and downs, but I think when you say someone is successful in business, it means someone's made money or someone is making money.
So maybe to pick up on a couple of those points, and what you're saying is obviously you've got I think that's your WhatsApp or something pinging away. I think what's coming up here is you're someone who has a philosophy that you don't believe in loans and debt. Okay, you didn't get investment. You work hard. You go the extra mile to look after customers. So really, what I'm gathering from this is when you became a broker and got into commission-only sales and so on, it just comes down to hard work, and you're trying to make sales to earn enough commission for you to then have an opportunity to go, right, I'm going to now start a business. I'm going to open a place. I'm going to hire my first employee. I'm going to start a company. Is that pretty much how it happened, or it happened completely differently to that?
No, I think so basically I started in a company. I grew that company to 35 people, 40 people. Then the partners went into a battle. I didn't want to be part of it. I left, and then the crisis hit. And you know, I joined one conglomerate. They terminated me immediately because first come, first go. And then I joined few brokerage companies. I couldn't go back in my life with my life, and I just couldn't go back from being a manager to being an agent. And I always wanted that progress. You know, I'm a very good salesman, but I never wanted to do sales for the rest of my life, like hardcore sales.
Right.
So I wanted to develop in both angles, sales and career-wise. You know, I wanted to become a manager and a business owner. So when I started my business, I started with 150,000 dirhams. I've never taken a risk that I cannot afford. This again, I repeat this so many times because I've seen many people starting even real estate companies in Dubai, but they started immediately, bang, big, 10 million dirhams, take one full floor offices. You've never done it in your life. Why you're from the first time you're starting, just knowing it in theory doesn't mean that doing it in reality you know, is as easy as knowing it in theory.
For our international, you know, viewers, you're talking around maybe $45,000 was your original investment. And was that earned from the sales and the commissions and so on that you had earned?
Yeah, it was. So it was earned from the commission. Then I took an office, 3.5 years contract, no go back. I don't like to try, and I don't like to tell myself that I want to try, because I feel it will, in my subconscious, it will give me the space to say, okay, if this doesn't work, no, there's no reason for it not to work. I'm not going to the moon. I'm not going to do something no one has done before. So when I started the business, it wasn't just the peak of the global crisis. It was the peak of the global real estate crisis. There was a real estate bubble. There was a mortgage bubble all over the world. But when I started, I said, you know, I looked at all these towers in Dubai and I was like, look, someone has to look after these babies. And even if there's just one single transaction in Dubai, why not me? Why others?
So then you just grafted, yeah? You just grafted out there yourself with your team to go and find your clients, you know, look for properties, put it together. I mean, I know you're not just a salesman, you're one of the best in the UAE in your industry, because I know you've won lots of awards, and I think I understand on a personal level alone, you've probably sold over $300 million of property just on your own, let alone everybody else in your company. So that requires a lot of graft, doesn't it? A lot of grit, a lot of determination.
Or yeah, maybe $2.5 billion, not 300 million. But yeah.
We could double that. Okay, we'll double that number. I was talking dollars. But yeah, you're right. It's more. It's a lot more. Okay. So yeah, I was asking, so, you know, and then you've instilled that into your team. Yeah, you've got 200 people doing the same.
I think you do, you know, I started on my own, and then you do something so well, and then leverage is a very big word that anyone wants to scale has to keep at heart. So then I wanted to leverage that knowledge that I got. How do you leverage your knowledge? You get one more or two more people with you, you teach them, you give them the knowledge you gained, and then they're gonna do it. And then you're gonna earn much lesser, but that is leverage, because, you know, I have only 24 hours. So while I'm sleeping or while I'm doing something else, they're also using my knowledge to generate money for them and for me. So like I said, the concept is very simple. You have to perfect doing one thing, and then you teach it to others. You leverage that knowledge, you get others to do it, and you inspire them, you show them what's in it for them. And you tell them that it's not something you read in a book, you've actually done it yourself. You lead by example, and then you will have people naturally evolving towards you, and, you know, and to follow you and to get inspired by you. And this is how you grow. And then in 2014 or 15, I wanted to scale up the business.
Right.
So I figured that to scale up the business, you need to have a system in place. Because if you think about it, real estate is very simple in theory. You know, you hire an agent, you split the commission 50-50. You don't need to buy stock, you don't need to buy a factory, nothing. But if it's that simple, out of 1,500 companies in Dubai, probably there are only 3 or 4 companies that has more than 100 agents. And there is a reason for that. Because other companies either don't believe that they need to have a very strong system in place and a governance in place in order for them to run their business and to scale it up. And of course, you need the tech in order for you to enforce and to make sure that there is compliance to the system to the processes and procedures that you've built. Yes. So I figured that out. I was blessed with having my brother with me. So we put all the governance and the system and the policies, the procedures in place. And then my brother digitalized all of it. And that was the core of the idea of scaling up and, you know, being one of the largest real estate companies in Dubai. Yeah,
it's a brilliant story. And you know, obviously you've won multiple awards year on year for being right up there as one of the biggest brokerages in the country. And you've expanded globally. But can I ask you, you know, what I've noticed with a lot of entrepreneurs that I met and family business owners is they've got this core business, which is the cash cow, okay, which is the one that does extremely well. And then they start to diversify. And I know you've expanded into probably 8, 9 other businesses. Was that a good move now looking back? You know, has that worked extremely well? Or, you know, if you were to do it all over again, would you not have gone into some of those businesses and spent more time focusing on the core cash cow and expanding that further? What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I expanded into businesses that has 2 things. First, a synergy with my business. Second, when I find the right partner. And that is very, very, very big. So, for example, my holiday home business, you know, gives me a lot of, most of the businesses I started wasn't just to make extra money from those businesses. It's to allow me to contain my clients and to acquire more market share in my core business.
Right.
So, for example, in my core business, when I sell an office and then they need interior design, then I have my interior design company doing the interior design. I built the relationship with the client. I contained that client. Tomorrow, the same client wants to rent the office out or wants to sell the office. I still have the relationship. I minimize his exposure to other competitors in the market or even to other interior design companies who may take him to different brokers. So I think I had a strong rationale behind every business that I started. But I think the most difficult part of starting a business is finding the right partner. And I think every employee, in effect, is a partner.
So what's your assessment for that? I mean, I've done a video on this recently with my own journey, you know, on losing $20 million in equity over the years with bad partnerships. So I did a whole video on this, but from your point of view, what's your criteria when you look for the right partner? What's the secret sauce ingredients you're looking to assess?
I think it must be someone who I knew before. I mean, I have my eyes open wherever I go. Like, for example, the guy who was a valet parking, who was like, he used to put the serve me at one of the restaurants, and then he was the valet parking, the guy. He was doing his job so well.
Yeah.
So I kept him in my mind. Then I brought him, he became my driver. And then last year, he's done a deal worth of 600 million dirhams. And today he's officially a millionaire.
Fantastic.
But why? Because you look at people who are doing any job so well, because that's in their heart. And if you feel that they have the skill set and the charisma and the character to grow more, and most importantly, the hunger to grow more, they just need an opportunity. Wow. These guys are hidden gems. When you find them, they're hidden gems. So, for example, in my fam living business. And why I'm saying this, I gave you this example when I'm talking about partners, because they are partners. I think when you sit at the table with anyone who's gonna work with you, especially in my line of business, he is in effect a partner. He represents your brand. He can actually harm you, or he can work hand in hand with you. So I think the most important thing is that you need to know someone well enough, for sure. You need to see them in different occasions and in different situations and in different scenarios and see how they act. And then when it boils down to business, you need to make sure that before, or when you start negotiating the partnership or the employment, whatever it is, you need to make sure that you are aiming to get to a win-win situation. Not only now, on the short, medium, and long term. Because you can sit with me now and tell me, Firas, come and do this business. I'm not so good. I don't know the ins and outs of that business. And you can sell me that concept. But if it's not good to sell me something that I'm not going to see tomorrow. So in a sense, it has to be win-win. You have to make sure that 3 months, 1 year, 2 years down the line, I'm not going to sit back and say, you know what, I'm underpaid. You know what, he's taking so much money. You know what? So I think this is a key to any partnership. And I think it's a
story. I absolutely love, love it. I love the valet to millionaire story. You know, I have a formula, I call it talent times energy, you know. So the talent, you may not know straight away, you have to discover it in someone and give them a chance, like you did with your brother, and you found his talent, and look at how that's worked as a partnership. But at the same time, someone has to have the energy. You know, what is their self-motivation, their determination, their desire level? Are they prepared to work hard? Because there's so many people out there who are geniuses, have great resumes, but they don't have the energy.
Yeah, if they don't have the hunger, they don't have the will. You know, success is not like, there's no right and wrong about success. If someone is happy where he is, whether he's doing the valet parking or whatever he's doing, if he's happy with his life and he has this self-contentment, he doesn't want to grow, he's okay with couple of thousand dirhams a month, then fine, good for him. I'm not gonna say this guy is not successful. So you need to find someone who's in line with your aspirations. Yeah. That's very, very important.
Yeah, your values as well. Yeah, your own values. That's very important.
Definitely, 100%. Yeah. And then you need to strike a business deal that is where it's a where the win-win scenario is long-lasting.
Can you give me an example? Can you give me an example of what you look for? What would be win-win? Like what?
Like, for example, if I now have my fam living business, okay? So the story of fam living is very simple. I started it on my own here at Fam Properties. I got the trade license, and there's a lot of synergy with my business. Then I wanted to have someone who can run it. So I put one of my guys there. He didn't do well. And then I knew someone 10 years back when I was nothing, basically, when I was living sharing in an international city. And I knew that the guy has a very good value system. And I knew that the guy we kept in touch over the past 10 years. I knew that he always wanted to get out of employment and to do something more entrepreneurial. So I called him up. I said, listen, I have this building. Can you furnish this building? I knew that he owns one apartment and he was doing the Airbnb for his apartment. So that's it. That's his experience. But he comes from a completely different corporate background. And I said, listen, can you furnish this building for me? He's done it so well. He was very well organized with his, documents, the administrative side of it. He showed great negotiation skills. And I was like, you know what? This guy is a hidden gem. So I brought him in and I said, listen, I'm going to give you this much salary, which is a big setback from his salary. It's probably 20% of what he was earning.
Right.
But I'm going to give you this much profit share. And these are my books, open books with all honesty and transparency. And this is the potential of the business. This is what I see if someone works hard on the business. This is where I see and how I see they can get it to that extent. And here is your profit share. And here is also your equity share, your sweat equity share over the coming 3 years if you achieve 1, 2, 3 KPIs. So I think clarity, transparency, you need to have a very, very well-defined. There's no, if you trust me and if I trust you, we need to put everything in writing because I could forget, and it could leave me with a very bad taste in my mouth. I could forget, like I could be happy with X, but we didn't write it. I forgot that I agreed on X, and now I'm just not happy. And if there's nothing in writing, if you're not very well organized, and if not everything very well defined from day one, that's gonna start the bad feelings, and that's where intention starts to go right, left, and center.
Wow.
So
some good insights there. Have you ever had a situation where those things don't work out? With all the best intention, it just.
My interior design partner, he just left me because I started a company called FAM something Interiors, and then I brought a lot of business to the company, and the guy was an engineer, so he's got the know-how of the interior design business, and basically he expected me to keep, I exhausted all my relationships, so now the company made very good money in the first year, but now it's his go. I've given him the stepstone. It's his go to hire and to run it as a real business. Well, he didn't. He wanted more and more and more. And then all of a sudden, he left me overnight. And he said, he left me with a deficit of 2.5 million. And he said, well, the company has FAM. If you want to announce the bankruptcy, I have the upper hand. Fine, announce it. He called me from Suwait. He's like, you know what? It's all yours now. So I immediately called all the suppliers. I said, listen, guys, I'm a 50% owner of the business. Come and take my share. I kept very good relationship with everyone. I said, just talk to him, ask him to come and to let go of the license. And I acquired the license back. When he came, I didn't even meet him. So yes, sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes, like with my outdoor media business, we had a business model. I started with my partner, Media 24/7, which is one of the largest outdoor media suppliers in the UAE. So I started with him on a certain business model, and then the business model had to change and had to evolve. And I felt that he's putting more effort into it. So I went to him and I said, listen, I know that now you're putting more effort. Let's not do the split 50-50. Let's do one part for me, one part for you, and one part for the extra sweat you're putting in. So I think we have to be reasonable. We have to be, it's not about, being greedy or not. It's about being intelligent about it.
Yeah,
it's about understanding that if your partner is not happy with you, or if you feel that your partner is taking more than he's supposed to take, or if you feel that you're underpaid, the relationship, the partnership won't last.
Yeah, it's really good. So outside of these things that you've shared, in terms of the growth that you've had with all these businesses, what have been some of the other biggest mistakes that you've made, which you've learned from in the last 10 years?
Well, I think the biggest mistake I've done in terms of scalability, I've built a system that was amazing. It works 100%, but then I started giving too many exceptions. So everyone comes, I say, okay, exception for you, exception for you, exception for you. And then I defeated the purpose of the system, and that backfired on me very badly financially. So I think that was one of the biggest, learnings I have. I think also I didn't get early enough maybe on social media. So that's another mistake. Maybe if I go back in time, I would have got on it earlier. I've never ever had social media in my life. But
I'm in the same boat. So started back in 2006 to 2008, and then after about 50 pieces of content online, we stopped. And now I kick myself thinking, why did we not carry on?
Yeah. I think consistency is irreplaceable.
So why is it important? Maybe we can educate people here. For people who are like us, owners of our businesses, chairmen of our businesses, and here we are creating content, for viewers. We're not making any money out of this, but it does support making impact to other people. It does support brand building. But apart from that, why else is it important for people to do something like this?
Because to achieve something good, it takes time. I mean, if you go to the gym and you kill yourself 10 hours a day and you go 1 day a week or 1 day a year, nothing's going to happen, literally. You're going to probably cause more damage than goodness. And it's the same thing. You invest in something, you decide to do something, you do it one time. And consistency has two dimensions. Number one, consistency in terms of the number of hours you're putting in and the quality you're putting in as well. It's not like a moody thing. Today, I'm motivated. I feel like I'm doing so much at work. I'm happy. And tomorrow, no, I don't feel like doing the same things with the same quality. So I think we have to understand that it takes time to get things done. And in any way, when you start something to achieve a certain goal. And you should simply not stop until that goal is achieved. If you stop, if you're inconsistent, people, we sell products and services to people. Even if you're the best in the world, but if you're inconsistent, if you make people feel insecure about your availability and the quality, the consistency of your quality, people won't deal with you. So you're gonna fail, definitely.
But
So
linked to social media or content creation, is that a strategy about being number one, about visibility? Is that what drives that? The content creation, is that what it's about?
I think it's so many things. I think, starting from
top three things.
Top three, I think starting, think of your competition and your market share. It's impossible for you to compete with a competitor who's on social media and to win, because basically you are acting only in real time with your 24 hours and his videos and his content, and people are seeing, while he's sleeping. So I think it's the exposure, the attention of people, the market share. Yes. Number two, leverage. You're actually leveraging, one piece of information, and it's very simple. People say, how can I start content? I say, listen, you must be doing something good in life. You must have some information that allow you to sell more, or that allow you to add value to people. Very simple. You just put that information, no matter how simple or how sophisticated it is. Every piece of information that adds value has certain, target audience, and that will resonate with you. If you keep it up, you're going to be known for it. So I think it's leverage. It's leveraging your time. Again, it's leveraging your time. It's leveraging your knowledge. You need to tell the world, and it's for free. It's still for free. On LinkedIn, it's still for free. You need to tell the world of how much you know and what you know and who you are, what you are all about, so the world can pay you the respect you deserve. And those who are interested in what you offer, and those who are interested in what you offer will gravitate towards you, will come to you.
Can I ask you? But there's a difference between us, having businesses and we're doing this, versus people who only do that. Okay. So how do you manage your time? How much of your time now goes into strategically content creation, media avenues, versus managing your teams, leadership teams, and giving them direction for your 10 plus companies, versus innovation and what's next?
Okay. See, number one, I am not, and I don't aim to become like a social media influencer. And I've never expected results since I started. And if you look at my Instagram page, it's probably like omelette, one or story. You'd see like me doing hardcore gym and boxing. Then you would see me putting something on real estate, and then something about my kids, or, so I think being spontaneous is a key. And I think in terms of managing your time, if the information is already with you, you simply need to communicate it as is. I don't do scripts. I don't prepare. And you don't need to. You just need to practice how to communicate the that piece of information. I hated cameras before. I've never ever had social media in my entire life. Okay, even when I was a teenager. But when I understood that, hey, now this is a must. At the beginning, it took a lot of time, but I knew that once I practice it well enough, whatever I do in 2 hours, it's gonna take from me 5 minutes. So keeping that in mind, it's worth the investment. And I remember when I started on LinkedIn, someone said, "Stop posting on LinkedIn, man. You're like spamming us and stuff." And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I remember I held the camera like this and said, if this is gonna stand between me and my future, like, oh, I'm shy camera. No, what shy? What you're talking about future? Like you're talking about your future, your kids, what you care for. If the camera is gonna stand between you and them, let's smash it, And practice makes perfect. And I think someone who's a successful entrepreneur or a business owner, they don't have to spend too much time preparing content. And I think in this era that we're in now, people are after value. People are sick of, the fluffy marketing words and I don't know what. And at the end of the day, those people, that type of content will always have its own audience, but probably not my target. And I think, in terms of my business, is always a priority. And whatever comes to my mind, whatever I experience, if I encounter a problem and then I rationalize it or I solved it or something, I just literally pick my mobile, I just say it and I put it online and it works for you. It works magic.
On that note, for those who still watching towards the end of this episode, don't forget to go to the description area where all the links are there to connect with Firas on LinkedIn. You've got to watch his Straight Talker episodes on YouTube. I found them fascinating. And based on what you've just said, if you look at your videos from 2 years ago to the ones you now do recently with your interactive board, you can see the difference. You can see the difference with your expressions, your confidence in presenting. So absolutely, for those of you shy out there, just do it. Just do it. Start creating. You'll develop your confidence and watch that stuff. Go to the description here. Last question before we wrap up. If I'm having a meeting with you on December 31st, 2030, 10 years from now approximately, and you'll be getting towards my age, right? Okay, and I'll be a little bit older, okay, and probably a granddad with grandchildren roaming around. And we're sitting together and I'm congratulating you, going, well done. From when we first did that interview back in June 2020, this is where you've ended up. Congratulations. Talk us through the next 10 years. What do you see?
I think I just work towards progressing. I don't plan too much, believe it or not. I just feel that my goal is to continue progressing, and your priorities shift in life based on your age and based also on what you encounter. At any point of time, I might say that, now I need to put more time into my family, less time into my business, for example. But I think my plan is to definitely continue progressing, continue growing, and wherever those opportunities are, I will capture it. And that's it. Like, I want to continue doing my very, very level best.
It's clear. It's really clear. And I'd say, wow, keep doing what you're doing, because you've obviously got, you're very centered, you know who you are, you know what your purpose is, you're driven, and you're inspiring many other people. I've seen some of the online gatherings that you've created for your employees and staff and partners. And I think you've got that balance where you work hard, but you also look after people. You make sure they have a good time. And I think that's also what creates great loyalty with the people around you as well. So, hats off to you. Well done. Well done for building an awesome brand in UAE. And we'll hopefully do this again for part 2.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me with you in this interview. And I hope that, we connect again, definitely.
Thank you very much. Okay. Have a great day. We'll catch up again soon. Thank you. Thanks for doing this. Bye for now.